Hi everyone and welcome to another painting tutorial. So today I'm going to take you through my galaxy theme for my Eldar Rangers. So over a Chaos Black undercoat, I have already applied a coat of Abaddon Black over that, as if I do need to correct at any point, the Abaddon Black finish is of course different to the Chaos Black. And now I'm just going to begin by highlighting the entire miniature with Stegadon Scale Green. Now the idea here is to ensure that I do leave some of the Abaddon Black visible, actually quite a bit for this scheme, particularly on the cloak. So essentially I'm just going to begin by essentially treating the Abaddon Black as the base coat of course, and then highlighting with Stegadon Scale Green and all of the other colours to come. So with the Stegadon Scale Green now applied, I'm going to move on to Sotek Green. And again, just following over all of the Stegadon Scale Green that I've done, and ensuring that I leave some of the Stegadon Scale Green visible as well. And I'm using my Raphael 8404 size 0 brush for this. As you can see, it's got a really fine point. These are beautiful brushes, and they're definitely, out of all the more quality brushes, they're, as I've mentioned in previous videos, they're definitely more affordable, as opposed to Winsor & Newton Series 7, for example. Of course, not that there's anything wrong with treating yourself to really good brushes every now and then, but if you're looking for a happy medium brush, I'd highly recommend the Raphael 8404 range. So as you can see, for the parts of the helmet, just using the tip of my brush, really taking my time. As I think that a part of what makes this scheme really cool is a pretty clean application. I've heard a few people comment on my Eldar scheme before that it has sort of a Tron vibe, which is pretty awesome. I can't say that that's actually what I was aiming for originally, as the original concept of my Eldar army was actually a Ynnari scheme. So essentially when I was doing that, I was thinking, okay, well, I know that Ynnari are typically red, and I was looking at the color wheel, and it turns out that red-orange is perfectly balanced with blue-green. And as I started painting, I realized that I wanted to do this sort of galaxy theme more so on certain parts of the army than others. For example, Eldar Rangers being that sort of like snipe from the shadows sort of vibe. I wanted them to be a lot darker, so I didn't actually include any red on these. However, against the rest of the army, since all the other models do have that galaxy theme as well, it does work, even though some of them feature a lot more red-orange than the others do. And if you're starting your own Eldar army, you could also try this scheme, well, this style I should say, in a different color scheme. And now with the Sotek green done, I'm just going to move on to Temple Guard blue. Now there isn't many steps left to go, but this is where it really starts to all come together. So as you can see with the lenses, I did work the Sotek green in a little bit more, but now with the Temple Guard blue, I'm just going to try and focus on edge highlights for this. And as you can see, really barely anything on the brush, and really taking my time around the helmet especially. And if you ever find that the highlight is taken too much away from the previous highlight, you can always go back to the previous color and work that back in to sort of thin out the additional highlight and make it look a little bit more blended. And as you can see on the cloak, with each progressive highlight, I'm just working slightly down each time and just leaving even just a small amount of that faded sort of color. And with the Temple Guard blue, also just going to be working on some stars. So really just randomly placed dot highlights there, and different sizes is absolutely fine as well. And now for the next step, just Temple Guard Blue and Dead White. So we've got Temple Guard Blue by Citadel and Dead White by Vallejo. However, any white acrylic will do just fine. This is just a preference of mine to be using this Dead White, as I really love its consistency. And it's a really nice white. So I definitely recommend giving it a go. As I did have trouble with, I think it was White Scar. I'm trying to remember the white paint from Citadel I had, or perhaps, no, it wouldn't have been Corax White. Can't really remember, it's been so long since I've used it. But yeah, I really do like some of the Vallejo paints. I just feel are a little bit better than Citadel, but then the same could be said in reverse as well. I definitely, as I've mentioned in previous videos, I definitely have a lot more Citadel paints than anything else. In fact, it's probably 90% Citadel and then 10% Scale 75 and Vallejo collectively. So as you can see, I actually made a little bit of a mistake here on the lens. It's just a little bit overpowering, so I'm going to go back with some Sotek green and just begin working in the crevices of the lens. Just to work back that sort of glowy effect on the lenses there. Now, whenever I make mistakes in tutorials, I do generally like to leave them in, just to show you that there are absolutely ways out of these mistakes, and we're only human, we all make them. And so long as you keep your paints relatively thin down, you can afford to get away with making quite a few mistakes painting miniatures. I think the most important thing is don't panic if you do. Just give the paint just a moment, just to dry a little bit, and then work back. But of course, if it's something like a shade paint, ink I should say, or something like a contrast paint, you can of course move the paint around whilst it's still wet. That's something I've done many times with contrast paint. And I've found personally that the more mistakes you make and the more you accept them and just continue working with them and trying to resolve them, the better you will become as a painter in general. Now, the reason I like to mix the Temple Guard Blue with the white initially over the Temple Guard Blue is that the jump between Temple Guard Blue and white is quite a stark difference. But eventually working up to some white highlights. Just not taking away too much of the blue-black though, that's sort of the idea. And now just to finish off the star effect, I'm just doing some white highlights. As you can see, large to small, small to large, it doesn't really matter. Just sort of randomly place them around the cloak. And always ensure that you keep your brush pointed directly towards the miniature as well, as I find that this gives the easiest application of these sort of dot point highlights. And now, as I mentioned earlier, just working up between the blue and the white mixed, and now just to the white, just to finish off some little highlights there. And again, as you can see, just jumping back to my blue-white mix, just to do a little bit more edge highlighting around the helmet. And here are some photos of the completed Eldar Ranger. So I hope you found this tutorial useful today. I found as though I was probably talking a little bit more than I usually do in my videos, in a bit of a chatty mood today, I guess. But thank you so very much for watching, and I will absolutely have some more tutorials coming very, very soon. So like, share, and subscribe today, and I will see you again in the next one.